What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Dusty, the Airstream Trailer Renovation Restoration. In this episode, we're going to be talking about all of the gray tanks, black tank, and putting in all of the plumbing and getting everything in place ready for belly pan and insulation for the frame itself. So the way I did this, obviously, as you've been watching the previous episodes, putting all the brackets in place and welding everything up to where the brackets will give it a nice drop off of somewhere right around 2.5 inches from end to end. Those two gray tanks will meet into plumbing, which will go down to a three-way hub where the black tank plumbing will meet as well. Now, gray tanks, each of them are plumbed for outlets at 1.5 inch on Dusty, and the black tank is ported for 3 inches. And those do meet the correct spacing on that hub, which is a 3 inch and a 1.5 inch hub, which is where that exit port will go out right outside for sewer dump. Now, as you can see where I've laid all this piping at, from all the brackets I've placed in. Those brackets are really just to keep the plumbing in place so it doesn't move around. And I'll use tie down straps with that later in this episode, which we'll talk about. You can see all this plumbing comes up from here to these gray tanks. And these are plumbed all the way in through a threaded outlet insert. And then of course these are where the sinks and shower outlets will go into these tanks, and then only for the black tank, which is the toilet, right back there. So now that we've got all of everything kind of preliminary in place, we're going to take it all apart, kind of like a puzzle again, and we're just going to start gluing it piece by piece. And once we get everything sealed and it's sat for 24 hours, we will go ahead and fill these tanks up with water to make sure that we have no leaks. And then we can call this a wrap for the two gray tanks and the black tank. Hopefully you can kind of see the angle from here, as it's pretty flush with the frame at the end of the driver's side of the trailer. But as it keeps coming down, you can see that drop real drastically, especially towards the end of here. So that gives it a nice flow away. So everything is going to flow directly right to that valterra three-way hub. This piping that you see all right here, it actually slopes down just like this, and then when it makes that 90-degree turn, it slopes towards that hub as well. So everything's got a nice pitch of slope all the way to that dump valve, which is what you want. You don't want to have any water that's going to be stagnant in these tanks or sitting. You want everything kind of to flow out. So that's exactly how we've intended this to be, and everything looks good so far. So now let's move over to taking it all apart real quick and gluing it. So I'll go ahead and switch this over to time lapse just to make it a little bit quicker, and then we will talk about exactly what we're doing piece by piece as we go through it. So here we go. You guys ready to get this thing started? Let's go ahead and switch this over and get right back to work and get moving along on this thing. What do you guys say? Here we go. All right, guys, let's talk about this black tank and the plumbing to it. So this black tank from Trailer Vintage Supply, it's got a 3-inch outlet. You do have to heat up just enough to soften it so you can get a piece of 3-inch ABS pipe fitted into that. It is a tight fit, but it is designed for that. And then you could put a hose clamp on that to make that fit sealed tight. From there, I went with a 3-inch flex line hose clamp on both sides, and then just cut a nice piece of 3-inch ABS all the way down to the other 90-degree 3-inch flex line that goes directly to the valterra three-way hub. Let's go ahead and talk about the two gray tanks. So with these two gray tanks, obviously you can see that they're sloped from driver's side to passenger side, about 3¼ inches total of slope. From there, I have cut a little section out from this cross section so I can get it to fit through here, which gives me about a 1-inch slope or so. Meets to a T with the other gray tank where this comes in, drops down a couple inches to go right below the actual next cross section. Under there, it takes that 90-degree turn and it meets it all the way to a flex 91.5 inch that goes directly to the other end of this three-way hub, which is 1.5 inch. Thought process between these flex 90s is that if I ever have to do any work on this, it should be relatively easy for me to be able to remove the flex lines. If I need to replace any of the actual piping from here back, it's not a whole lot of work, and I can still save this hub without having to worry about getting a new one, which are costly depending on where you get them. I think I only paid $55 for this one. It is manual. Obviously, if you get the electric, they're going to be a lot more expensive. Alright guys, so I went ahead and filled up both gray tanks and the black tank about 2 days ago. They've been sitting for about 48 hours and there is no leaks across all three tanks, as well as all of the plumbing to the Valterra hub. So that is the good news. We're going to go ahead and drain all three tanks to ensure that all the liquids drain properly. And then all I have left to do is to put in 2 brackets to hold the black tank in place. That bracket will go on this back side, simply bolts to both cross sections, as well as a bracket that goes in here, which will keep that in place. All the brackets are already in place for the gray tanks, so that's good to go. And then the only thing I have left to do is to put all the tie straps in for this plumbing, so this all stays into place here on its way out. From there, we can consider this video a wrap, and I'm not going to bore you with all of that just because it's simple strap to these cross sections, and it's just putting some sheet metal screws to it and holding it all into place. So guys, I appreciate all the support you've been giving me, all the feedback, the questions, the comments. If you haven't already, go down, hit that subscribe button, share this video with your family and friends. Until next time, as always, this is Danny, signing out. All right, first up, black tank. That's pretty good flux. Let's go ahead and get the gray tanks.